Hey, exciting news. If you are ready for 2025 to be your year, and this is your year to finally get abs, to get shredded, to actually become fit and healthy, I have a great opportunity for you. We're kickstarting off the new year with a 30-day challenge. And this is going to be an amazing challenge because this is going to help you push forward in your goals to lose more fat and gain more muscle. And right now we're doing early access pricing for this 30-day challenge. To enter, to learn more, all you need to do is message us on Instagram with the keyword abs to our Instagram at ColossusFit, ColossusFit. Once again, DM abs to us on Instagram to at ColossusFit, ColossusFit. Spots are going to fill up quick for this because it is the new year and a lot of people are hungry for this. But once again, if you've been feeling that itch to finally see that change, don't miss out on this because it's going to be our biggest challenge yet and it's going to be a ton of fun. Now into the episode. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I'm your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house.
We have an incredible episode planned for you. This is Motivation Monday. We're here to get you fired up, inspired, and towards living a fitter, healthier, and happier life. And as always, we're going to answer the first question. And we have an ab-centered episode today. If you checked out the title, you probably saw that. So this is going to be a lot of fun because we get a lot of ab questions. I know I'm sure a lot of you're going to have a New Year's resolution to finally see visible abs or get a six pack or lose stomach fat. So we're going to be covering all of that and so much more. So the first question we have is, how often should you be training abs? Do I need to train abs daily to get a six pack? So I get asked this quite often. As someone who's had abs for a while and maintain abs, all too often I'll hear people say, I'm serious about getting abs. I'm doing it every day. I'm doing a million crunches. I'm doing planks till I literally fall on my face and all these extreme measures. And people will always say to me, what's your ab regimen? And most often I'm not even doing direct ab training. I actually have had the best abs I've ever had from powerlifting. And the reason for that is I'm lifting 400, 500, 600 pounds and I'm bracing against that. I'm engaging my core and I have a lean physique generally during that time because I'm training so hard. So because of that, that's where I will get a lot of ab strength, and I don't necessarily need to train them daily to achieve that. In fact, if you are training them daily, you're actively hurting yourself in terms of definition. Muscle growth doesn't happen through training, it happens through recovery. It happens when you rip that muscle and then it actually takes the time to repair and grow back stronger, and you're not going to achieve this if you're constantly day after day fatiguing it. So that is where people go wrong. They're doing more for less results. And if you do want to do direct ab training, before I even recommend that, I really like to challenge my clients in particular and say, are we actively using our abs for what they're meant to do? Abs, more than anything else, are for bracing. They're for keeping our core strong, keeping our stability where it needs to be. And when you do this, you'll actually get more engagement. I mentioned in a previous episode how even sitting, you can sit and flex your abs and you'll actually sit up stronger. And by engaging those abs, you're actually going to get more from it. And you'll find you do begin to get slightly tighter abs as a result. And then even within this, when you're exercising, you should be breathing and doing your breathing behind the brace of your abs. So it's breathing behind the brace. And we actually did a specialty personal training cert on this, and they really highlighted this. And this was such an advantage to my training, was learning to breathe behind the brace. So it's obviously hard to demonstrate on a podcast, but you want to brace your abs, breathe through the brace, or breathe in through the brace and then breathe out through the brace while maintaining that tight core. And when you're doing this, you'll notice your shoulder press will improve. Your any movement you're technically actually bracing will improve. There's some movements where you'll brace less, obviously, like a lat pull down where you're actually bending backwards. You're going to be bracing a lot less than something like a shoulder press where you actively need to keep that tight and engage, or a squat where you're really going to get a lot of involvement. But in your day-to-day, by doing this, you'd actually be surprised how this can actually strengthen your core, and this is actually usable strength. Now, once you have this down and you want to get in dedicated ab training, I like recommending twice a week for abs. 3 times a week would be like my ultimate if you wanted the best abs possible, but I find it's not usually realistic, and adding it on top of training and everything else, it can actually become a little bit overwhelming. And for that reason, that's why I recommend focusing on training and really getting involvement through there, and then mixing in some specific and direct ab training. And we're going to talk more about definition and all that great stuff later. So in terms of like what training to do, but with the direct ab training, I would say 2 to 3 times a week is totally fine. Don't do more than that. There's absolutely no need, but you'll get more by generally improving how you utilize your abs for your workouts. And a great way to do this is change your wallpaper or something. going to the gym the whole time, fixate on the concept of, am I actually bracing? And you'd be amazed how often you just let your stomach go limp while you're doing movements. And this isn't putting you in a strong position. Like if you're resting all your weight on your spinal cord, that is not good. Those little vertebrae aren't meant to support that much weight and strain. Our abs, our muscles are meant to hold that load. So by reworking this and really learning that engagement, that's why everyone will say core tight, core tight, core tight. That's such a common cue because you will get so much more stability from it. And that's what it's for.
It's a great tip because even I learned myself the hard way that the few times that I've actually got injured, and especially doing, I think it was barbell squats, I just wasn't bracing enough against my belt. And I went to go see a specialist and he was talking to me about that. And I was like, oh man, I was like, that's so true. I kind of just would lose my focus. And yeah, bracing is so important, as Josh mentioned. But I really like this question because it's something that we get asked a lot. And even Josh, especially, like we'd be chilling in the sauna, someone would be like, dude, like, you know, you got a six pack, like how do you do that? What exercises do you do? Or they'll ask like, what cardio do you do? Kind of like in that range. Or sometimes it's even like more like kind of weird questions like, do you fast? Or like they'll say like, what supplements do you take? Like it always goes down a weird different route. And a lot of times it just comes from like really good nutrition and really solid strength training. But yeah, I see so many people just like when they get into the gym, the first thing they do is they just hop on. There's two machines specifically. It's the crunch machine at the gym, and then it's like the oblique twisting gym that just like you don't really feel it. You just kind of feel like you're doing something. And I find a lot of people spend way too much time on that. And it's so awesome breaking these myths, especially because when you think, hey, I want to get abs, and that's all you're going to do is just strength train abs like the entire time and do a million crunches. And when you actually realize that like you could effectively have a six pack without doing any sort of ab exercise. And even for fat loss, some people think like, hey, I want to lose fat. What cardio do I do? Or how much cardio should I be doing? And when they start to learn that you can effectively lose a ton of fat without even stepping on a treadmill, on a Stairmaster, on anything at all, if your nutrition's good and your strength training solid, those two things, like you'll lose fat, abs will be in there. And yeah, it's just something that a lot of people don't think about, but it's something important to remember.
Yeah, and don't worry, the ab discussion is going to be continuing, but now we're going to be pivoting over to our quote of the week, as well as some of our thoughts and a client who's been killing it. So I'm going to start with my quote because I really like this. This is something I heard in a motivational video today and just hit me like a brick, as they often do. And the quote was, your mind has to be stronger than your feelings. Your feelings keep you in bed. Your mind says, get up. And I love that because it was given such a specific, like I love analogies. I love specific examples. Anything like that where I can draw those connections are so powerful to me. But it isn't about doing what you feel. It's about doing what you know you need to do. And like leaning into your mind, like when it's late at night, I love that example. You're chilling, watching a show, and you're like, ooh, I'm going to just DoorDash something quick. And then your mind says, you're going to waste $30. You're going to eat food you know you don't want. Your mouth's going to be all salty. You're going to wake up in the middle of the night really thirsty or something. And like, you're going to be going away from your goals. Like you need to have that higher level thinking. In the morning, it's real easy to say, I don't want to go to the gym. I just want to sit around. I want to do nothing. But that's ultimately going to make you feel worse. And there's a reason we really like to hit on this. So definitely something to think about. Stay away from those feelings. Do what you know you need to do, even when you don't feel like doing it. It's a hard thing, but this is discipline. That's why we always say discipline over motivation. Being consistent with your discipline tasks will lead to amazing results. So that is my quote for this week.
Everyone's always asking what the secret is to success and to, just getting results. And I really think that like this quote says it all. And that's something I firmly live by no matter what's happening in life. Makes such a big difference. But I love that. And my quote I'm going to start with here is, self-love isn't selfish. So it's very simple. I came across it the other day and I liked how to the point it was. And everyone will take something different from different quotes, which is what's awesome. To me, it just really thought about prioritizing yourself. And especially I think when it comes to parents, when it comes to just people who have others they want to take care of, sometimes they may not prioritize themselves, thinking like, well, I need to take care of this little one, or maybe you're taking care of a parent or whatever it is. And they often forget to just take care of their own self-care. And it's not selfish, like to start your morning, to tackle your tasks in the morning before you help other people out. Like, I think it's just very often overlooked. And that's my friendly reminder to anyone out there. Like, if you have a role of taking care of others, like you just really have to make sure you're taking care of yourself. And it's not selfish at all. And it'll help you be able to take care of others better.
Yeah, I love that quote. I may have said it previously, I may have not, but this is something I really do love. And I love that example of the importance of putting on your own oxygen mask when you're going down in a car crash a plane crash before you do someone else's. Because if you don't, you're going to pass out and they're going to pass out. And even fun fact, I used to be a lifeguard. Like, it's all too often when you go to save a drowning person, they'll try and drown you. And it's not because they want to, but it's because they're going to try to pull you down, do what they can to survive. And just the same, like, if you don't take care of yourself, you're going to end up pulling everyone else down as a result. Because if you as a parent aren't taking the time to be healthy, when you're older, your kids are going to be driving you to hospital appointments, you're going to have sicknesses, you could miss events, you could completely miss major moments of your child's life. It's a little bit dramatic, and I know it's a little bit intense, but it's the same point. Like, you need to take that time to take care of yourself and really zoom out. And as I said earlier too, like, avoiding your feelings, but doing what you know you need to do, because it's so easy to say, I'm just going to give my kids everything they ever want. I'll worry about myself later in life. But later in life, it might be too late. So I think really taking that macro view and really understanding all the different levers of what's happening and utilizing that is so important. And this is a great quote.
Yeah, awesome. Great add-on. I really like that lifeguard example. I've never heard of that one. The plane one I've heard of because you hear the spiel every single time, but that was a great add-on there.
Awesome. And now we're just going to jump into what has us excited or intrigued.
One thing, I don't have a whole lot, but lately I've just been trying to think about, I guess, setting intention and just being present. And so what I've noticed lately is when I would get into the car, I'd always just like rush, like I would turn it on and I would just get right to where I'm going. So what I started doing, like, probably about 3 or 4 days ago when I'm by myself, is I'll just sit there, I'll turn the car on and I'll take 3 deep breaths. And then from there, I would just set the intention, oh, this is going to be a great meeting. I'm going to have an incredible workout. If I'm going to see friends, like I'd say, hey, I'm grateful for this and we're going to have a great time. And so I've done that for the last 3 or 4 days. And it's just been a really good way to just like force myself to slow down. And what's funny enough is, like, I like rushing from one place to another. Like, I love being on the go and whatnot. So taking those 3 breaths and that like extra, I guess you could say 30 to 60 seconds, it forces me to like make sure that I'm not like, only giving myself so much time to get somewhere, and I'm like planning ahead, and I'm like, hey, if I'm having to just always be rushed, there's a problem there. I'm not giving myself enough time. I'm not, planning ahead as well. And I think it's just been a really cool thing that I've added in. It's something I'm not a big, like, I like affirmations. I think they're great, but I haven't done a whole lot of that in the past. And when I kind of sit there and think of like the positives and, that deep breathing, it's been a really cool little way of meditating, but not actually, just like a couple of deep breaths. It's been a really cool experience so far.
Yeah, and for myself, it's just a lot of goal setting, obviously, as we get into the new year, and really wondering how I can maximize that. And I think where a lot of people go wrong is they'll just set random goals for the future and they won't take any time to reflect. Even my clients, I challenge them quite often, like, how can we reflect on this week? Where can we learn what worked well and what didn't work well and actually utilize that to move forward? So if you're setting goals, but you're not actually reflecting on what went well this year, you're going to get nowhere. If you can look back and say, like, where was I the most fit? Like, what put me the most in rhythm? What took me out of that rhythm? Where did I struggle the most? What areas did I win in? What areas am I slacking in, and do I need support? And with that too, like, finding something that excites you for the new year. We're really excited about this challenge. New Year challenge is always a ton of fun, a lot of fresh energy. Everyone's fired up. And unfortunately, the statistics are against you if you start a goal in the new year. But we find that's entirely different. When people come into our challenge, these are people that are like yourself, listening to a fitness and health podcast, who know they're capable of more. And it's just an opportunity to expand your horizons and become your 2025 self. And once again, if you want to learn more about that, we have the early access pricing. The spots will fill up quick. This is going to be a huge challenge with amazing prizes. So if you want to learn more and learn about it first, message us on Instagram with the keyword abs. Instagram is ColossusFit once again. But now we're going to actually go ahead and showcase a client who has been absolutely crushing it. Who do we got this week?
So this week we have Hayley, who has lost over 20 pounds. She's actually from Australia, which is super cool. A lot of people ask, like, if there's going to be an issue with that, different time zones. And it's, I think, a 16-hour difference, which is pretty cool. But yeah, we've helped so many people in different parts of the world, and that absolutely, we will take care of you, whether in New Zealand, Australia, the UK, like Germany, wherever, any part of the world. We've actually had a lot of Singapore clients, which has been really cool as well. So anyways, Hayley's been absolutely crushing it. What's really cool is she will always share her different parts of her life that she's like excelling at. And, she'll go to different, let's say a beach event or, social event and stuff like that, wearing bikinis, and she's just so much more confident. And that's what's incredible. I know lately we've actually been showcasing more of the journeys that have reached closer to the year mark, which is absolutely incredible. We obviously have so many people within the 90-day time frame losing 20 plus pounds, and we love to document those. But I know I said recently when we shared Jeff, I think that was last week, I love those ones where it's like, not only do you see someone excel for a certain amount of time, but it's just a continued success, continued progression. So absolutely amazing job to Hayley, to Coach Armando, who's done an incredible job customizing and just doing some incredible things with her. And one other thing I want to say on the challenge is a lot of people fail when they start the new year because it's a very unrealistic approach. I'm going to have 0 carbs. I'm going to strength train 7 times a week. Usually they set their goals when they're by the camp, by a nice fire, they're cozy, their feet are up, and they're like, man, I'm going to do this. And so the reason our challenge is going to be different is because we're going to give you challenge things that are going to actually push you, but we're focused on long-term habit creation. And you're also going to have a lot more support past the 30 days. And that's something important to remember. So when you come in here, the odds will be in your favor, and you 100% will beat that statistic because we find a way to make it just sustainable. And that's what we're all about, is sustainability. Just like Hayley, she hasn't gone backwards like a lot of people. She hasn't lost weight and gained it back. She's actually started to get a lot better. So that's all I have to say there. And amazing job to Hayley and Coach Armando.
Yeah, shout out to Hayley. I love continually seeing her crush it and navigate just living life, having a social life, progressing with the goals, making adjustments, and continuing to move forward. And that's what the health journey is all about. Like, it's really easy to just think, I'm going to get really fit for this one occasion. And it's how it can be. But health is a continual journey. It's something you need to, once again, upkeep. It's something you need to progress with. And when you look at it that way and you appreciate it and say, how could I fit this into my life, as opposed to have this be like a temporary thing I'm focusing all my effort in and that isn't sustainable, it's such a relief. And having a coach on your side to do that is the best, because you have someone who isn't emotionally attached, who's going to give you the info you need, that's going to say, hey, you're being too hard on yourself. Here are the adjustments we can make. Here's the data. Here's where we're progressing. Here's where we can improve. Like, these are all things that are so impactful. So absolute big shout out to Hayley. That is absolutely awesome. And now into our second question out of the mailbag. Hey guys, love the pod. Quick question that I'm not sure has been asked here. How can I make my abs more visible? I'm pretty lean and have abs, but I find I could use some more definition in this area. I do train abs twice a week, pretty hard during doing crunches, but I am open to other suggestions.
This is a great question. And honestly, when it comes down to the overall visibility, so this is where I think so many people struggle. As I was talking before, a lot of people just going in and doing specific movements. And we are going to give you some great movements. Josh has an arsenal of amazing exercises. I usually just say, hey, what do you think is best for abs? And I just copy him there. But the thing I'll have to say in terms of just making them more visible is you have to go that extra mile, I guess you could say. So in a case of a calorie deficit, you have to go that extra couple weeks essentially. So even myself, straight up, I would always have a bit of a hard time seeing them. Just genetically, it's just a little bit different in terms of where I hold my body fat and, all that stuff. So I would find that I would get to a point where I would almost see my abs, and it's just kind of there, but I would just hold on to more fat in my love handle, lower back area. And that is very common for a lot of people as well. And then even when I was doing a physique show in the past, it would be those extra few weeks and those extra few pounds where it would just really come together. And I think a lot of times people don't have that understanding. And the thing is, most people just don't have the nutrition down to get to that point. They're not in enough of a calorie deficit. And that's where it does get challenging, is that a lot of times people ask different questions, to Josh or just in general, just be what's the best ab exercise? And I'll never forget, I saw someone online, he had said, he said the best exercise is called a plate push. So funny enough, we would have clients when we did in-person training do plate pushes along the turf. And instantly I thought of that. I'm like, oh, I've never thought that would be the best exercise. And he was just basically saying pushing the plate of food away, saying no to it. And I thought that was such a great way of putting it, because that question is just so commonly asked. And when you think about how that is the actual best exercise, is when you push it away, you say no to those extra donuts, the extra calories, the extra food that's going to take you out of a deficit. inherently like that is going to be the best thing for you versus doing other things. But that's going to be my answer for that one. And then I know Josh has a lot more to say on this subject as well.
Yeah, Kyle nailed it out of the park with the plate push. And I didn't want to get too into it with the first question because I knew we'd approach it here. But the best way to get abs is to get leaner. Just a matter of fact. Like, you could do crunches till you're black and blue, but if you have too much fat, it's not going to show. It's going to be, you're going to get stronger, you're going to have that base, but it's not going to show how you want it to, and it's not going to speed up that fat loss process. The best way to do that is actively losing weight. Now, as you get leaner, perhaps you have abs, and even through this question, this is someone who's lean and does have abs, but they feel they can get more definition. You can absolutely switch up your training, especially this individual is only doing crunches at this time. I like to look at abs in 3 parts. So you have your lower abs, your upper abs, and your obliques. This is a very simplified look on this, and once again, you could get a lot more technical here, but I find splitting this ab training is nice, and you can actually see more development from it. So if you have really good like obliques and your serratus is popping, which is like that little muscle on the side there that you always see people do when they do that side flex. If you're not seeing the definition you want there, do more oblique training. And the best way to do this is doing rotary movements. So you could do Russian twists, you could do wood choppers, and these are movements you don't typically do. I can't remember the name of it. It was like Twist Fitness or something, but that board we were on, there was someone who had a personal training company called that, and their whole thing was you'll do a lot of activity, you'll do a lot of motions, but it's rare in life you'll ever do a twisting motion. And it was kind of an interesting take because I think their whole thing was functional fitness, but it did make me think like it is true. Usually we train on similar planes and we're not utilizing different motions and twists and whatnot. So if you're not seeing definition you want in your obliques, this is a good way you can make them pop a little bit more. And it is good to add a little bit of versatility. I do find in general, like upper abs is where most people will see. To actually have your lower abs pop, more often than not, you just need to get leaner. But another thing you could do is do more specific lower ab training. Abs are like any other muscle. You can train them and they'll develop more. But once again, if you're 450 pounds, you might have massive biceps, but all people are really going to see is the fat over those biceps. It's just a reality, and abs are very much the same. But when you get lean, like any other muscle, you can train it hard, you can hit it with intention, you can pump it up, you can burn it out, and you can utilize different training and you can see more definition. So if you do find there's a specific area really soft, but you are lean and you want to see them pop more, train harder with that. Do more like captain's chair leg raises, do more like window washers. Like, you can get pretty intense with it, but for most people, it's just going to be a waste of time, unfortunately, and they'd be better just doing a very basic, simple ab training regimen. But if you're like competing or exceptionally lean, or you're just super vain and love your abs, like, these are the things I would focus on, if you will. Another thing you can do to actually present a slimmer waist and have more control is doing vacuums. So this is something a lot of bodybuilders will do, and it's something where you lay down and you suck in, and just from underneath your belly button, you're really going to be pulling that in. You're actually going to be training kind of your organs to contract there. And there's a specific muscle that this works. Once again, for most people, this will be such a waste of your time, and I wouldn't fixate on this. This is very much more so when you get super into the competitor type world. And it's real easy to be seduced by these things and say, sick, I'm going to do this hardcore ab training. I'm going to start doing vacuums and all this stuff. But if you're not doing your plate pushes, like Kyle said, it's irrelevant. Your abs aren't going to show and you're wasting your time, but you're doing all this exotic stuff. Like, to me, I would rather just get the results as simply as possible. And truth be told, ab training does not need to be complex. There's an old video on YouTube, like 8-minute abs. I like doing that one. Fun little life hack. If you really find your neck gets sore when you do crunches, put your tongue to the roof of your mouth and it'll actually negate a lot of that. That's a really fun little bonus, but I'll do that sometimes. Typically, my gym ab regimen would just be like doing 100 lower leg raises from the captain's chair over however many sets it takes, like 3 sets of cable crunches, and then like a Russian twist, wood chopper for obliques. So just one of each, 3 sets. But once again, I'm more inconsistent with that, but it's not a massive priority for me right now because I'm not super lean. I'm not on beaches. So like, I still have abs, but it's just, I'd rather devote more time to my actual training and getting more out of that.
You'd be surprised how much those heavy lifts actually do for your entire core. Like Josh said before, like heavy sets of deadlift, squats, overhead press, bench press, like the amount of activation is incredible. And the last thing I'll say, because I try to make simple reels on Instagram where you guys can learn stuff, and one of my most recent ones was just like a question of like, why can't I get abs or why can't I lose fat? And it's me doing like these like quick twists and crunches, and then I try to add some humor, and then the answer is just me. I had pizza, I had Ben and Jerry's, I had something, I was just stuffing my face, and I was like, that's the answer. And that's where like it's true, like so many people ask that question and then just like their nutrition is just garbage. They're stuffing their face so much, they're out of a deficit, they're not tracking things, and it's like usually that's unfortunately the case. But yeah, that's a random thought I had on that subject as well.
Yeah, incredibly well said. And we'll jump into our final question. What is the best lifting belt to buy?
So I'll only speak to what I've had. I'm not going to suggest things that I haven't had. I've had an Inzer belt for about, I would say 8+ years, like ever since I remember. Like Josh had one, and then I went out and bought one. And then last year, when I think it was, like it lasted me like 6-ish years, I think it was. I got off like Kijiji, which is like our Craigslist here, and I bought it for like $100, and it was incredible. And when my truck got stolen, I'm like, the first thing I had to do was, because my gym bag was in the truck, I had to go buy another one, because I'm like, I love this. I love the lever. And it's funny because yesterday someone was in the gym, and my buddy noticed him like leaning up against a squat rack with his like stomach up against it, trying to do this weird thing with this belt. And he's like, what is he doing? I'm like, he's just trying to get the latch. Like, it's just those weird belts where they're not like kind of a clip. It's like something else. Like those things are just a little uncomfortable. You can get them from like Walmart or wherever for like $30-$40. And those things are just a little more uncomfortable, I find. I used to use those things at first glance when I first started the journey. But Inzer belt to me has been great. And that's what I personally have used and really enjoyed.
Yeah, so I have like the SBD belt. I've had 2 Inzer belts, and they're phenomenal. I really recommend Inzer. It's just like an American company that's been around forever. A lot of cool colors. They're super popular for a reason. I like the lever as well. Some people will do like the actual ones where you have to buckle it in each time. The perk of the Inzer belt I have, or sort of SBD belt, my apologies, and SBD stands for squat, bench, deadlift. So that's a cool name for a company if you didn't know that. But the cool thing with what I have is my waist could change. Like I could use my belt and Kyle can use my belt. With an Inzer, you prefix where the clip is, so it's a little annoying. Like even Kyle the other day said, "Ooh, I gotta change my belt a bit," because he's been bulking and like his stomach was a little bit cut up from it. So you don't have as much choice. Even for me with my SBD belt, I'll usually squat with it a smidgen tighter than I will deadlift, so I can make that adjustment on the fly, which is cool. Now, the negative is most belts are about 10 millimeters, which will be really thick if you've never used one before, and it's going to feel like you got like a plank of wood against you, and it can be quite an adjustment. It can dig into people's ribs. It can make you a little uncomfortable. So there is like a big learning curve, and if you're not super strong, you can kind of avoid this for a little bit. And then the belt I have, which is another option, is 13 millimeters, so it's even thicker. It even feels like a denser plank of wood. So that's where it really depends. And like, would I spend the money on this belt? I don't know. I got offered it at a pretty fair price because the gym we worked at, the guy was an SBD realtor, or not realtor, he was an SBD retailer. There we go. So he sold some of their stuff and he gave me like a fair deal or like 20% off or something. Someone asked me if I liked it recently and they're like, those things are like $400. And I'm like, are they? That's absurd. So I would honestly just get an Inzer one, get it on like Facebook Marketplace, get a used one. Other companies will make ones that are similar. It's just Inzer, like I said, American made. It's nice quality, nice metal lever. Like everything about it just feels like it's got some good oomph to it. So that's kind of my favorite. But in general, those are kind of my thoughts on the lifting belts. And like Kyle said, you can get the cheapies, they'll do something. And keep in mind, what a belt really is doing is helping you stay tighter by way of cueing. If I just put my hand on Kyle's stomach while he squat and said, brace, 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 that's effectively what a belt's doing and is really great for that. And it gives you more opportunity to generate inter-abdominal pressure. It's not going to fix all your problems and inherently solve your back pain. And it's funny, these questions are paired actually. I didn't even do this purposely, but like you can avoid a belt by having really good bracing, as I mentioned earlier, really good breathing. And when I don't have my belt, I'm extra aware of my bracing and I use it as an opportunity to keep my bracing really tight. A lot of people will say, oh, belt's a huge hack. You're cheating, this and that. It's the equivalency to me of saying like you're cheating if you wear your seatbelt in the car because you're not actually scared of death or something stupid like that. Like it's just an extra form of protection where it's going to help you cue that pressure. And to me, why would you not take that advantage if you are quite strong? Our general recommendations of whether you should use a belt is if you're doing like 1.5 times plus for your squat or deadlift, to 2 times probably for the deadlift. So if I'm 200 pounds and I can deadlift like maybe like 350 to 400 pounds, that's where I would probably start to get into it. If you're just starting out, you don't need to do it. Work on bracing, work on form, then you can get into it. But if it's something you want to treat yourself to, there really is no harm.
Yeah, that's been like one of the accessories. Like we always get asked what accessories would you use and have and all that stuff. Like that's been 100% of the time in my gym bag. And yeah, to me, it's worth it, especially at the point that we're lifting and whatnot. But it's also good to remember, even if I'm like, I forget my gym bag, I can still do my deadlifts, my squats. Like Josh said, it's not something you need, but it's also going to be like a nice bonus. So I'm like, hey, if I don't have it here, I'm going to just focus on tightness, keep remembering so you don't get injured. And that's, yeah, you're good to go there.
All right. Well, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Once again, if you want to get abs once and for all, don't miss out on our challenge. It's going to be a ton of fun. 30 days, we're going to coach you through it. There are going to be criteria you need to hit each and every day to make sure you're losing more fat and gaining more muscle faster. It's going to be a ton of fun. There's going to be thousands in prizes. So don't miss out. This is your chance to get access with early access pricing, if you will. This coffee's hidden me. So thanks for tuning in. We made it through this one. It was an incredible episode. We appreciate you for tuning in as always. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.